When our RRG besties give us a video recommendation, we always try to deliver. And today's video is one that has been highly requested, and it dives deep into the unbreakable bond between Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. The entertainers shared a bond that transcended the silver screen. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, admiration, and a genuine friendship that touched the hearts of many.
I thought, she was so beautiful, and I thought, well, this is the girl for me. Not everyone thought that. It turned out, but I did.
Before we get into today's video, be sure to scoop up something to munch on at rrgsnacks.com, our online concession stand that has an assortment of teriyaki beef jerky, watermelon licorice, and chicken and waffles popcorn. Kevin Costner married a woman named Cindy Silva in 1978. As they started having children, Kevin began making waves in the entertainment industry. Meanwhile, Whitney Houston was burning up the charts and selling millions of records worldwide. Like most of the world, Kevin took notice. He told ABC News, "I just looked at her and I said, oh man, this girl she just really has it." In the early 90s, filmmaker Lawrence Kasdan gave Kevin the script for a movie called The Bodyguard. As many of you know, the film is about Rachel Marin, a pop star and actress who is haunted by a maniac. Frank Farmer, a former Secret Service agent, is hired to protect her. At first, they don't get along, but soon enough, true love and appreciation begin to blossom. Kevin was not only going to play the role of Frank, but he was going to co-produce the film as well. So all he needed to do was find the perfect entertainer to play the role of Rachel. He wanted someone with a world-class voice, real elegance, and a physical presence. The first person that came to mind was Whitney. He reached out to her people and expressed an interest in casting her in the movie. Whitney told Rolling Stone magazine that after reading the script, she liked the story, but she thought Rachel was too much of a B-word. She also thought the role was a bit too major for her, and she was more interested in getting her feet wet with a smaller role. She told Rolling Stone that she put the film on the back burner for 2 years, although Kevin said it was more like 1 year. And then she went out on tour. Kevin said studio execs were somewhat relieved. They didn't know how audiences would react to the interracial storyline. Keep in mind, this was back in the early 90s, when people were a little less tolerant of those sorts of things. But if they thought that Kevin would suggest someone else to play the role, they were wrong. It was Whitney or no one.
You're waiting a year for someone that doesn't even know how to act, I said, yeah, we're going to do that. Anybody that looks at Whitney Houston could fall in love with her.
He told ABC News, could somebody else play that role? Of course, somebody could have, but nobody better. After the tour, Whitney was still playing games. Eventually, he put some major pressure on her. Whitney told Rolling Stone magazine, "I kinda waited too long for Kevin. I think it got on his nerves. He called one day and said, 'Listen, are you going to do this movie with me or not?'"
I felt like, can I do this movie? Can I really pull this movie off? I'm playing opposite Kevin Costner.
She told him about her fears and how she was afraid to fall. Kevin told her, "I promise you I will not let you fall. I will help you." And he did. She wanted to take acting classes so she could do her best, but Kevin told her it wasn't necessary. He said, "Whitney, please don't do that. This isn't about technique. It's about your natural, charming character." They coordinated a time for her to audition for the role. When she arrived, she was a nervous wreck. Kevin later revealed that he wanted to let Whitney know that the whole thing was rigged. No matter how great or how poorly the audition went, he was going to give her the role regardless.
She could fall down and start speaking in tongues. That somehow I would find a way to explain it as an extraordinary acting choice.
But he knew that wouldn't be fair to her. She auditioned, and when they officially offered her the role, she accepted. Of course, they wanted Whitney's powerhouse vocals on the soundtrack as well.
Kevin chose this song. He said, "Whitney, I'm telling you, this song, you're going to love this song." I listened to it and I said, you're absolutely right. This is the song.
There were more conversations about how the audience would respond to the interracial romance. They collectively decided not to mention their races in the movie, and Kevin was just happy to lock lips. Kevin said, "I kissed her once for everybody in America, and I kissed her once for myself." But of course, some people were in their feelings. Kevin said, "Some people weren't happy that I picked Whitney Houston to be my love interest and that I kissed her. Who wouldn't want to kiss her?" He saw far beyond the narrow-mindedness and recognized Whitney's immense talent and beauty. To him, she was the cutest girl he had ever seen, and he couldn't imagine anyone more deserving of the role. They spent countless hours going over the script and sharing moments of laughter. Their bond deepened as they worked together, and a genuine friendship formed.
We became such good friends during this movie. I know that I made a friend in Hollywood for life.
Whitney told A Current Affair that they hit it off right away. She described him as being sensitive, kind, and warm. She also said he was a gentleman and he took care of her while on set. During their days off, they would take their scripts and practice their scenes together. They also talked about their upbringings and realized they had a lot in common. They were both raised in the Baptist church and they shared a love for music. After they finished filming, Whitney had to leave to go tend to her singing career. They had to use her stunt double to pose for the iconic image of Kevin carrying Rachel with her head buried in his shoulder. Kevin's marriage to Cindy was hanging on by a thread by that point, and Whitney had her heart set on being with Bobby Brown. However, an insider told Radar Online that Kevin and Whitney might have had some type of encounter while filming, but Whitney stuck a fork in their relationship after filming wrapped. Whitney and Bobby tied the knot in July 1992, and in November of that same year, the movie and the lead song, I Will Always Love You, which was performed by Whitney, was released. The Bodyguard grossed over $400 million worldwide, and the soundtrack took home multiple awards. While promoting the film, Kevin didn't hold back when it came to praising Whitney, her talents, and her beauty. But Whitney would redirect any and all questions that would be disrespectful to her new husband.
Do I agree that Kevin's the sexiest man in the world? God. Now, I believe that Bobby's the sexiest man in the world. Cindy Costner, she'll tell you if Kevin's the sexiest man in the world.
As the years passed by, they continued to speak fondly of their time on set together. Kevin more so than Whitney. And he wasn't the only one who was intrigued by her. He told Jimmy Kimmel that Stephen Hawking had an entourage of about 10 people that showed up at his home unexpectedly. Kevin said it took Stephen a while to finally explain the reason for his visit. Finally, Stephen said,
"I'd like to know about Whitney Houston."
Kevin looked at him and replied, "You're not the only one, Steve." As Kevin continued making films, he watched from a distance as Whitney faced her battles with addiction. Although he was able to hold her hand during the filming of The Bodyguard, he expressed regret for being unable to hold her hand through her personal struggles. When Whitney released her 2009 album, I Look to You, after a 7-year hiatus, no one was more pleased than Kevin. He told ABC News, "I knew this day was coming for her because she's too strong, too smart, too talented, and she has so much residual love out there that people have for her." But as the years passed by, Kevin was contacted by people close to Whitney who were in need of his help. He told CBS News that he was asked to write her letters in hopes that his words would encourage her to make some changes. He sent 2 to 3 letters in total. Kevin added, "I never heard back. I was told that she got them, but she went away." Whitney drowned in a bathtub at the Beverly Hills Hotel on February 11, 2012, and was pronounced deceased at the age of 48. Kevin was celebrating his son's birthday when someone told him the news. He was devastated. His friend was videotaping the party, and Kevin told him, "Come down to the back of the house and just put the camera on." Kevin then let it all out and started talking to the camera about Whitney. When he was done, he put on a brave face and returned to the party. He admits he has no idea where the footage is, and he never rewatched it. It was just a therapeutic moment that allowed him to release his feelings. As the news of her passing flooded headlines, Whitney's family contacted him and asked if he'd speak at her homegoing, since they knew how much they meant to each other. He didn't hesitate to get on the first thing smoking to travel out to New Jersey, where the service was being held. He also brought along his second wife, Christine Baumgartner. He told Parade magazine that he wrote the eulogy on the plane, in the limo, and while in bed. It was very important for him to say the right thing and in the right way.
You weren't just pretty. You were as beautiful as a woman could be. And people didn't just like you, Whitney. They loved you.
3 years after Whitney's passing, her daughter, Bobby Christina, was in a similar situation as her deceased mom when she was discovered unresponsive in a bathtub. Bobby Christina was revived on scene by local medical officials before being taken to a Roswell, Georgia hospital. Kevin expressed his sympathy for the family and acknowledged the immense stress they were under. He admitted that he hadn't spoken to Bobby Christina in a while, but wished her the best and hoped she would have a second chance at life. Sadly, after being in a coma for nearly 6 months, she passed away on July 26, 2015, at the age of 22. In 2021, it was announced that a remake of The Bodyguard was in the works. The screenwriter Matthew Lopez expressed his desire to cast a Latina as Rachel. Variety magazine initially reported that Cardi B and Tessa Thompson were suggested for the film to star alongside either Channing Tatum or Chris Hemsworth as Frank Farmer. There was outrage from fans who thought the original film was good enough and didn't need to be remade. Even Whitney's ex-husband Bobby said a remake is completely unnecessary. Sometimes it's just best to leave classic films alone. Although we may never know the true extent of Kevin and Whitney's friendship, they clearly shared a special bond during their time together. And while it is impossible to quantify the depths of someone's feelings, Kevin's actions and words throughout the years have made it clear that he will always love her.
Knowing that there's a lady in heaven who is making God himself wonder how he created something so perfect